I'm talking with Mr. Freddy Sayegh, who is from Altadena community, a community in California severely affected by the disastrous firestorm of January 2025. I'm going to read a little bit of narrative here into our recording. Mr. Sayegh formed the Altadena Coalition because this collective loss strengthened his resolve to ensure that rebuilding efforts prioritize the needs of local Altadena families, protect community assets, safeguard historical integrity, and create sustainable infrastructure that will protect future generations. When the LA fires struck Altadena last year, how did that personally impact you and your family?
Well, my grandparents came to Altadena in the 50s, and believe it or not, they had 10 children, because that's was the thing back from our old country. The more children you had, the more prosperous you were. And those children had children, so we had quite a bit of us in Altadena. And Altadena was such a quaint, beautiful town that most of us never left. And as a matter of fact, we bought homes very close to each other, most of them within 1 mile, all walking distance. So that had its beauty and comfort prior to the fires. But when the fires happened, it was devastating because it ended up wiping all of us out. Multiple homes and businesses and commercial property, displacing all of us. Uh, my sister's son's school burned down. I had a child at Elliott who burned down. I had a child at Altadena. My uncle's daughter was at St. Elizabeth. So, it was complete devastation to our family.
I see. Yeah. So you've really been immersed in your response efforts to the Eaton fire crisis. You formed the Altadena Coalition. This helped meet the needs of all their residents. How might the California Make Polluters Pay bill and its funds help you better prepare or prevent, mitigate the impact of future disasters in communities such as yours?
Sure. In Coalition of Wildfires, approximately 7 years ago, former State Assemblyman Chris Holden had passed the bill called AB 1054. And what that was a response to PG&E's bankruptcy in the Paradise Fire. And what they felt is similar to the utilities companies. They profited off us. They expanded. Their CEOs and shareholders got dividends. And then when the devastation that they caused happened, they denied responsibility through bankruptcy protection. And so that wildfire fund was designed to hold them accountable. So similar to the big oil and the fossil fuel industry, they have been fleecing the residents and making massive profits. And what they have is an opportunity to walk away because climate change is an evolutionary factor. It just doesn't like wake up one day, they cause major devastation, and all of a sudden you could point to them. And so they must be held accountable because in the end, it's us. Not only are we paying for our physical health, damage to the earth, and damage to future generations. And so while they're being able to pull these profits, they should also be held responsible at today's time because these funds need to begin being deployed now to help reverse the damage that not only have they made previously, that they're continuing to make, and we know damn for sure that they're going to continue making in the future.
So true. Yes. So where do you feel that there might be some opportunities for others to learn from the work you've been doing since the fire in order to prepare communities in general to respond to future disasters? Is there anything that you've learned that you want to share about your organizing?
Sure. So My father came to this country and he started small businesses. None of my siblings ever worked. Literally, none of my relatives ever had real jobs. We've always, built small businesses, and that was our mindset. So we never really looked to government as a element in our lives. Everything was through, building businesses and then the capitalization. Then when the fire started
Mm.
and everything was wiped out, the only thing me and my sister knew to do was to come to our community and help. And we have no experience in government, no experience in, you know, really community involvement. You know, we came just from small business world, and we started off literally by handing out water and blankets and things of that nature, and taking my past experiences, which was both as a trial attorney and as an event producer. I realized that those were skill sets that my community needed. And when a massive disaster happens, you can't just look to government or to nonprofits to fill that void. It takes us as residents and as citizens to step in place and help where we can.
It's up to you.
And each of us bring a dynamic set of experience, a dynamic set of work history. And I think those are the things that are going to be needed. It's going to be a joint effort. So for a guy who didn't sign up to become a community organizer or to create events or to assist, when you get put into that role, for me, it was an addiction to keep helping, the addiction of being there for our neighbors, to being able to pull resources and use your contacts and relationships. So
Mm.
for me, it's affected me indefinitely. I couldn't see myself going back to doing anything but helping communities. This could have been my calling a while ago, but it's my calling now.
You really learned a lot, and that may help others that want to organize the way you've learned to do. If you got
I've always been like a social activist. I've always taken on causes and, vocally, let my thoughts be known.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
being a social media warrior never really got anywhere but arguments with opposing political thoughts. I mean, and that's all that really I got to.
Mm.
But really getting out there and really assisting and really helping, um, it's life changing.
So much needed, and for that whole year you've been going at this. I would like to pose sort of a future scenario to you. If you had the chance to speak to the entire California state legislature during their 2026 session, what would be your top line message to try and get legislators to pass such a bill as a Make Polluters Pay?
One, we have to stop thinking about ourselves. Okay. You know, um, the silent generation built dams and infrastructure, and knowing that those sacrifices weren't for themselves. When they sacrificed themselves fighting World War II, those sacrifices weren't for themselves, they were for future generations. Now we have a new generation that are all self-centered and not focused on the legacy and the earth that we're going to leave behind to the next generation. And it's truly unfair for this generation to not only leave them in a tremendous amount of debt. So we spent future generations' money. We've now spent future generations' air quality, future generations' soil quality. We are going to have climate migrants fleeing homes and worlds and lands they lived in because they become inhabitable. We must think about leaving this earth in a better place that can be actually sustainable. we're already feeling the effects of climate change now in this generation. And for us to not pass once in a generation legislation that can unleash funds that gives us the best chance to prepare for climate future, um, and ensure that these companies don't just leave with the money. They've made billions, probably trillions of dollars. They have the biggest lobbyists. We must protect our future generations. And in order to do so, we need to set aside this fund now, so we can begin now. Because once the clock ticks too far, there's no coming back. And there may be a small window for us to do it now. And they have the money. And as a matter of fact, we give them tax subsidies. These trillion-dollar companies, we're taking tax dollars and helping them. What about us? What about our children? What about our grandchildren? Is it, well, we had our generation, we lived and we got uh all of the benefits of this earth. So what do we want to leave behind?
We so much agree with what you've said. We're going to move on a little bit because we don't want to take too much of your time. And, if the Make Polluters Pay bill passed and it collected money from the worst polluters and created a fund that could be used to prevent, future climate disasters and help communities prepare. What if you were part of a local community team or organization applying for some of those funds? What would you prioritize asking for in the ask, given, kind of how the fund is set up for future prevention and mitigation? What would you prioritize?
Well, there's a direct correlation between these wildfires and climate change. Okay, we saw this ravaging Northern California. We're in historic weather times. I mean, how could you have the last 5 years be the last 5 hottest years in Earth's recorded history? Okay, so some of these funds should be used to harden homes against fire risks, retrofit schools so kids could learn without heat exhaustion, limit the number of extreme heat days, and utilize that funds to grow more trees, to do things in the natural way that can help reverse some of these climate effects, reducing the carbon emissions, reducing the amount of concrete we're building, creating more to balance out what we've taken. And these are long-term actions we have to take now that will benefit the future. We must worry about tomorrow's generation. We can't do this to them. We can't leave them where it's too far gone. Well, and it's not fair. It's not fair that this next generation isn't going to benefit from these oil dollars. That's moved on to these corporations and tax dividends.
Right.
And at some point, we have to care about us as humans and humans across the world, because climate change doesn't have a border. It's affecting us all. And when you start seeing, you're complaining about immigrants coming to this country. Well, when their country's uninhabitable because of the oil and the fossil fuels and the damage we did here in the United States, don't go complaining that they have no place to live.
That's right. You got to look at that social justice angle over the whole impact on the whole world. What would you say in a recent interview on National Public Radio, you talked about the importance of having hope. So from where we are now, how does something like this Make Polluters Pay campaign that we're doing now, does it give you hope? And in what ways do you think it will benefit? What you see as a hopeful vision?
You know, we could raise billions of dollars to help transition away from fossil fuels. We've got an administration who has targeted renewable energy, wind energy, nuclear energy, clean energy, and we're going backwards. So this money is going to be important to not only fight climate change itself, but fight the propaganda against natural and renewable energy, against making false claims about climate change and how it's affecting us. So hope is getting that fund and getting that money and deploying it in multiple levels. But when Americans and humans were starting to understand and believe, because they saw the natural effects of climate change in their time, in their lifetime, to spend and have such powerful people, such powerful lobbyists tell people otherwise. I mean, I can't believe that I'm having arguments with people in this day and age that climate change is a hoax. Yet they've are living in it. They are feeling it. They are seeing the effects. It's right before their eyes. So hope is getting back out there and letting people see the truth of the reality. My fear, now I'm not a scientist, my fear is when we cross that threshold that there's no coming back. And I've heard this for the last few years, that if we don't do something now, but we pull out of the Paris Climate Accord, we pulled out of the World Health Organization, we're pulling out of everything for the mighty dollar. Because in the end, that's what it all comes down to. I'm not going to put money into health because they didn't put money into health. I'm pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord because we're the ones who are going to suffer economically.
Yeah.
Well, who cares? Who cares about the dollar when there's no air to breathe, when there's no food to eat, when there's no water to drink? I mean, what are you going to do?
Well,
What are we going to do?
Yeah, I think keeping.
And I know that question was about hope.
Yeah.
But I hope that this legislation passes so that we can do something or have a fighting chance to save this earth. Because Earth will survive. Earth will survive. It survived the dinosaurs. It survived many things. It's humans who are at risk. Earth, I think, will be just fine without us.
Yeah, so our hope is to really get the truth out there and let people believe what they're experiencing in their own way. As we close today, is there anything that you can think of that I haven't asked yet that you'd like to offer us in closing?
Yeah, this act creates and protects jobs. It makes our state safer and healthier, and ensures our neighborhoods are properly prepared for future climate disasters. It's critical. And the legislature, and California is always the leader. I'm very proud of this state because we always lead, we always take on the tough topics, we always spend money where nobody wants. And I do believe in this California legislature. I love our state senator and our local senator here in Altadena, our local state assemblyman. I believe in them, and I know they know what's right. And making them pay for the damage we're not asking them for a handout. We're asking them to fix the problem that they created, the lasting damage that they have done, that we've subsidized them to do. So all we're asking them is to fix or help fix the problem, because if not, it lands on all of us as taxpayers. Yet did you guys get an oil distribution dividend? I mean, if I'm getting a dividend every month and problems happen, then maybe I should pay. But I'm not getting the profits, I'm not getting the dividends, I'm not getting the tax dollars from the big oil, so I shouldn't have to pay for the mess. They should. They should be responsible. They should put the funds out now, and they should do what's right.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for wrapping it up in that way for us.